Most men do not express enough masculine energy in their interactions with women. If you're a man with a busy career or your own business, and you want to find the right girlfriend, life partner or wife, or you simply want to create a better dating life in general, where you feel truly desired and respected by women, this video is for you. Ignoring the principles that I'm offering you here today will lead to a lot of unnecessary suffering in your dating and relationship life. Trust me, not only have I coached clients from 27 different countries, but I was also married to a woman who wasn't right for me. I did not express enough masculine energy in the relationship with my ex-wife. Now, granted, there was such an inherent lack of compatibility between our values, our personalities, and the way we wanted to live life that it could have never worked anyway. But if I had expressed more masculine energy in the beginning, if I had to express myself in a more masculine form, then the relationship could have been avoided and a lot of suffering along with it. Now, I'm the last person to complain about it because it shaped my story. The only reason I genuinely care about my clients, the only reason I genuinely care about you not making the mistakes that I made, some of which I'm talking about here today, is because I went through the suffering. I know the suffering and the fear and the anxiety and the emotional, for some it's depression, for some it's anger, for some it's fear, right? The three main negative emotions. The suffering that can come from that. I've been there. That's why I don't want you to experience that. But we first have to start with defining what masculinity isn't. Because in our society, a lot of people have a very strange idea of what it means to be a masculine man. It does not mean being dominant. It does not mean telling her what to do. It really doesn't. Get me this. Do this for me. That's not what it is. It's really, and we're going to talk about the 7 or 8 different components that make up masculinity here today, just an invitation. It means you being proactive. It means you suggesting a concrete time and place for the date, as opposed to asking her what she wants to do, and then she suggests 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning. I was on a call with coaching clients yesterday, and one of the guys says that the girl that he was about to go on a date with, the woman that he wanted to go on a date with, suggested 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning for a date. I almost lost my shit. I thought it was hilarious. Granted, he's only been in the program for 2 weeks, so it's fine. And I actually told him I was going to mention that in this video, anonymously, obviously, because privacy is super important. But this is a prime example of what can happen if you don't make a concrete suggestion. If you don't lead, then you end up with a 9 a.m. Saturday morning date. Now, if you have amazing communication skills, you can absolutely have a successful date. It's not to say that you can't have a great time on a coffee date. Absolutely you can. I've done it plenty of times. But for a first date, simply getting drinks, ideally alcohol-free drinks for the sake of your brain, would probably be better, because drinks or dinner, but drinks is usually better, simply carries a more romantic vibe than just coffee at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning. That's just one silly little example. So going back to what masculinity isn't, it does not mean, in this example, telling her, no, we're going to go do this whether you want it or not. That's not what it is. But it is being proactive in terms of the suggestion of a plan, of a concrete course of action. If you go back in history and you look at what the tribal leaders, some people call it the alpha males, did, then we're able to derive certain characteristics that women still to this day want from men, because our biology is more powerful than this political correct bullshit that we're being fed in the news. The alpha male, so to speak, the tribal leader, and every tribe still to this day has, and throughout history had, a leader. Somebody who says where the tribe is going, how the civilization is supposed to be built, the rules that are being established, certain customs and norms. You need it. Now, very interesting point. The more peaceful the times get, the less you need one particular person in charge, and the more, and this is not a political discussion, this is more philosophical argument, if you like, the more the decision-making power should be distributed among more people, because otherwise, if it's only centered on one person, that can lead to a lot of disaster. But back in the day, women were primed to react to the tribal leader who was making decisions, who was leading, who was suggesting a concrete plan for the date, a concrete plan for where the relationship is supposed to go. Now, this again does not mean you ever tell her what to do. real, true leadership in a relationship, being proactive as a man in a relationship can only work if there's a high degree of compatibility between the two of you. If I were to say, let's go to the gym, and she inherently hates the gym, then we're always going to have an argument. If I want to go dance bachata and salsa, and she wants to stay at home and read a book, it's not going to work. If you want to go and hike mountains in Germany, perhaps, and she would rather, I don't know, again, sit at home, read a book, and cook some scrambled eggs, perhaps, then there's an inherent lack of compatibility. And if she then were to go along with your suggestion, it would cause a lot of suffering or at least emotional dissatisfaction for her because she's not inherently motivated to do the things you like to do. So in order for you guys to be happy and or for her to happily go along with your suggestions, there has to be compatibility. And compatibility is something, as I always say, something you can only discover and not create. If your values are not aligned, if your personalities aren't aligned, it doesn't matter how masculine you are in the relationship, how good your proactivity, your leadership is, so to speak, it's gonna crumble. It's not gonna work. That being said, let's get into what masculinity actually is. There are some women with whom you could have a high degree, or with whom you actually have a high degree of compatibility, who will still lose interest in you over the course of a second or third date if you ignore the following things. For example, you as a man have to have problem-solving abilities. What does that mean specifically? There's a million different examples. One of them being she giving you congruence tests. She may give you congruence tests in a lot of different forms. She might tell you, oh, wow, that shirt looks a little bit gay on you. Or she might simply tease you in a variety of different ways. Some people do that in a toxic way. Some people do it in a playful way. Simply just teasing. She wants to see whether you're grounded enough in your own sense of identity as a man to crumble, to change your opinion if she wants that. If she gives you a congruence test, and you stay grounded, emotionally non-reactive, and you master it by accepting and amplifying the premise, by doing whatever it is you need to do to handle the situation appropriately, in essence, by remaining emotionally non-reactive, then you can actually build attraction. But there are some women with whom you can have a high degree of compatibility who will lose interest in you if you ignore these things. If you crumble, if you change your opinion to please her, she doesn't really want that. And you have to understand that in the moment, she may reward you for changing your opinion and agreeing with you. But in the long term, she will lose interest in you. It's one of the most important things you have to understand that the mainstream gets wrong. The mainstream always tells you, if she's losing interest, love her more. Bring her flowers, like a friend of mine did, who's a doctor back in the day before he went through his own personal transformation. He painted this girl a painting when she broke up with him in the hopes that it would rekindle the fire. It absolutely didn't. All it did was make him look like a pathetic little bitch, because why the hell would you crawl after a woman who rejected you? If a woman ever rejects you, you simply stand there, grounded as a man, and you say, no worries at all, I wish you all the best, take care. And you move on instantaneously and immediately, and you continue to build an abundance of options for yourself that you can choose an amazing girlfriend and life partner from. That's absolutely important. So, you have to be grounded enough in your own sense of identity to be able to solve problems. Problems in life, problems on the date. And the congruence tests I just talked about, they simply serve as a metaphor or as a predictor for how you're going to act in the future. Remember, women are always going to unconsciously model the behavior, or they're going to create a connection between your behavior on the date or during the approach or even online, and they're going to map that towards a potential future together. And if you're acting needy, if you're not able to solve basic problems that she presents you with to see if you're confident, if you have a sense of conviction, how the hell are you supposed to be the tribal leader of a family? How the hell are you supposed to be able to navigate life's challenges if you can't even handle a congruence test? If you haven't even put in the work to study the dynamics of attraction and go out there and get a heck of a lot of experience with women, not a crazy amount, but a sufficient amount to be able to handle these challenges proficiently. Absolutely important. What else does it mean to be masculine? It means to have a sense of conviction, to speak with conviction. And a lot of you guys are very intelligent. And you have to understand the different contexts. Communication is tailored to the context. Wouldn't you agree? Yes, absolutely. So the way you communicate at work is going to be very different to the way you communicate on a date. And the ideas you communicate to your manager, your employees, your peers at work, their validity is based on their merits. How much people agree with you should be based on how right it is what you say and how much value you can contribute to the organization, right? Yes, that is absolutely and utterly not true in a dating context. In a dating context, being confident and speaking with conviction is almost a form of a currency in and of itself. This is important in and of itself. It is not about how right what you say is. Obviously, if you're having a logical, serious interaction and you're just talking bullshit, you're just talking out of your ass, you're just spewing facts that are not correct, if you are somebody who absolutely lacks integrity and authenticity, that's terrible as well, because women are too smart to not detect that lack of integrity in your personality as a man. But she's not on the date with you for a logical exchange of information. Speaking with conviction is extraordinarily attractive to women. An utter lack of self-doubt is absolutely attractive to women. And you have to understand that you have been lacking this masculinity in your expression around women. Not completely, not fully. It's not 100 or 0. There's a lot of ways in your life where you're already being masculine, where you've already established things like discipline and doing the difficult things. It's not like, oh, you're 0% masculine and now you need to work your way up all the way to 100. It is just your communication. You're already doing a lot of things right. Should you work on yourself? Should I work on myself? Should we take personal development absolutely serious to become the best version of ourselves? Of course. Why? Well, because progress makes us feel alive. Progress equals happiness. It doesn't matter where you get, even in your relationship, in your dating life. You know that in your business or your career. If you're not making progress, you're stagnating temporarily. And the emotional decline happens days, weeks, or even a couple of months after you've reached the goal you wanted to reach. If you don't continuously keep growing for the sake of your own self-expansion, for the sake of your aliveness, you will experience a sense of tiredness, a sense of fatigue, apathy, in other words. Viktor Frankl talks about that all the time. Apathy is one of the biggest enemies. But apathy comes as a direct result of not growing. So absolutely you have to keep growing. But coming full circle, you have to understand that you're already a high-value man, so to speak. You're not lacking too much in terms of who you are. And this is something that I sometimes hear from clients. They say, well, I don't really want to change myself. I don't want to have to become a different person just to attract women. I don't want to do that. And I agree. Becoming more masculine in your expression around women does not mean that you have to become somebody else. And it also does not mean that you have to neglect the feminine. Because this is something what a lot of these people in the manosphere space, and some people I greatly respect, some people not so much. You'll never hear me talk bad about anybody by name, because that's not who I am. But I'm going to talk bad about the ideas, because bad ideas being proliferated, spread, in other words, pardon me, English is my second language, is going to lead to a lot of suffering. And one of the ideas that's being spread these days is the thought that men cannot be feminine. And that's absolute nonsense, because we all have masculine and feminine energy inside of us, and the proportions are different. That's why there can be some women who are a little bit more masculine and some men who are a little bit more feminine. And chances are that if you're a little bit more introverted, if you're quite a logical, intelligent person, then maybe you have a very strong feminine side. And I'm going to be the last person to tell you that you can't live that out, because I deeply believe that I'm more masculine than most men. I have taught karate at my university. I trained martial arts for 6 years, 3 to 7 times per week. I have a very strong masculine core in terms of the actions that I took, and also, most importantly, in my communication with the people around me, especially with women. But I also have a very strong feminine side. A year ago, during New Year's Eve, Fernanda's sister came to visit us in Dublin, and we watched Interstellar. I don't want to spoil it for you. Amazing movie if you want to go watch it. But at the end, there's a very sad scene. Not even a sad scene, but a very emotional scene. And I was sitting there and I was crying like a little bitch. Now, some people might say, as a man, you can never cry in front of women. And that's not true at all. Should you cry when you have an argument with her? If she's being difficult? Absolutely not. Then you remain utterly stoic. But if you watch a movie or you watch a video on YouTube that emotionally touches your core, neglecting that part of your humanity definitely does not mean being masculine. So, you can absolutely include that feminine energy. And I would actually encourage you to go harder on feminine energy. The reason you are not allowed, the reason women are not allowing you to express your feminine energy without them losing interest at the moment is because you're not expressing your masculine energy all the way. Most men half-ass the way they express themselves in a masculine way, and they half-ass their femininity. If you can go a lot harder on being masculine, you can also go a lot harder on being feminine. In other words, you can get access to these parts inside of you that you've buried. She wants both. Ever heard of push-pull? It's a really important concept that could be a 5-hour lecture in and of itself. Apply for a free initial consultation call if you want my help with that personally. Something we talk about in detail in my coaching program. She wants both. She wants you to be disagreeable at times, to have a strong opinion, to tease her. But at other times, she also wants you to be a little bit lovey-dovey and caring and playful and silly and feminine. She also wants that, and different women want that to different degrees. And you just have to understand, to which degree do I feel fully alive and happy? How masculine, how strong, how dominant, not in the sense of dominating other people, but more so dominating my weakness and having a strong sense of conviction, a strong frame. How much of that do I need per day to feel happy? And how much do I want to rest in my femininity? I mean, if we weren't allowed to be feminine, what good is loving kindness meditation? Should we not be meditating? Because as Jack Cornfield says, what does meditation do? It quiets the mind, it opens the heart, and you return back to yourself. Does being kind, being gentle, is that a bad idea? Not at all. Gary Vee is somebody who talks about that a lot. He talks about empathy. Empathy is one of the most underrated skills in business these days because everybody thinks you have to be a shark. No, you don't. You shouldn't be naive. You shouldn't be a fucking idiot and think that everybody has your well-being in their mind. Absolutely not. But that being said, you can absolutely be empathetic. You can absolutely give trust first. And that's another point. I believe a masculine man gives trust first. A lot of people say, well, they have to earn trust. I think you should, if you want to find high-quality male friends, as well as get more women attracted to you, give a lot of trust, be very warm very quickly, let people in quickly, and kick them out quickly. A masculine man sets boundaries. You have no problem with kicking out the wrong people. If any woman misbehaves, you kick her out of your life instantaneously. If she's disrespectful, for example, this manifests in a lot of different ways. And by the way, the mistake you might be making, let's say you're walking with her, you're in a relationship with her for 6 months, and you're leaning over to her a little bit too much, as opposed to her leaning over to you this much. Yes, these little things matter. Then it's your fault. Then you're establishing that frame. Remember, women want to follow you, not you telling her what to do, but she wants to see you make suggestions. But she can only rest in her feminine if you're resting in your masculine, so that's partially your fault. But if you're, for example, walking somewhere with her and she's just nagging you, she's just being disrespectful for no reason, then it's time to cut that person out. Now, more often than not, you have led to that behavior. You have allowed her to behave around you like that for a long period of time. And if you've been married before, if you've had long-term relationships, you realize that you tolerate that behavior more and more and more often. And at some point, it simply becomes a habit of how the two of you interact with each other. And there's another thought. I was actually texting with a client of mine from the US. He lives in Miami, and he's dating this lady. Absolutely attractive. He actually met her at an in-person event that we sometimes do. Most of the stuff we do is online, but every now and then we do in-person events. So he met her. I was actually there with him when he met her. And things are going very, very well between the two of them. But she happens to be quite jealous. He says, I've never seen anything like that. So right now, actually, currently, we have an ongoing conversation via text. And I was asking him, this may be a point where you have to set a boundary. Obviously, I need more context, and I need to have a quick phone call with him probably to identify how this actually manifests. But if she's overly jealous, this can become a problem. And this can be a problem to the extent where it disqualifies her from being able to apply for the position of the girlfriend or life partner. Seriously, if she's overly jealous, this can be not just one red flag, but a disqualifier. Now, should she not be jealous at all? No, you don't want that either. If women aren't jealous at all, then they're probably getting their needs met somewhere else. So you don't want that either. But you have to be able to set these boundaries. A strong man sets boundaries and kicks people out very, very quickly. Now, not overly quickly, not because you're insecure and you don't want to allow any depth. That's a different situation. But as a masculine man, coming back to what I was saying earlier, let men and women into your life quickly and kick the wrong ones out very quickly as well. Gary Vee talks about that in business. He says, if you want to hire the right employees, don't be afraid. Everybody thinks, I need this perfect hire. And yes, absolutely, you should have a very, very strong selection process. You've got to qualify and screen very, very intelligently. But at some point, you just got to go for it. And it's better to hire fast and fire faster. You know, not too fast, not, okay, the person made one mistake, the lady misbehaved. And that's what a lot of men in these manosphere space do these days as well. And some of them I respect, some of them I don't respect. But again, I need to attack the idea. It's the idea that a woman shows the slightest bit of negative behavior and they immediately want to get rid of her. It's not that extreme either. But you really have to get to a point where you're so grounded enough in your own sense of identity because you, for example, have read Jorge Bucay's book, The Three Magic Questions. Who am I? Where am I going? And with whom? You know exactly who you are, where you stand for, what kind of person you want in your life. That you can give trust in advance. If the person violates it, okay, they get kicked the fuck out of your life. And you have to be a little bit stoic and understand that 9 out of 10 women you'll ever meet, even the attractive ones, you wouldn't want to be in a relationship with. You would not want to be in a relationship with 19 out of 20 women. 19 out of 20 men, maybe even 99 out of 100 perhaps, depending on how high your personal standards are and depending on what you're really going for. And that's perfectly fine because you as an individual have such unique things that are important to you, and there's certain things that are important to people in general. What I hear from men all the time is, okay, she doesn't have to be a top model, but there has to be some degree of physical attraction. She has to be intelligent, there has to be a degree of education, I want to have intellectually stimulating conversations, I want her to support me, I want her to have an active lifestyle. There's certain things that I hear over and over again from men that support, at least the kind of clients who come to me, right? So there's certain universal qualification criteria when it comes to the selection of a long-term partner for high-value men, but there's also individual ones. And since you are so individual, to find somebody who likes you, that you like, you have to get the reps in. And that's why, as a man, one of the traits of masculinity is doing the difficult thing. Mastering online dating, doing an approach. A client texted me today that he approached 6 women sitting at a table and he was super nervous and he actually got a rejection, but he literally said he felt so proud of himself and so strong because he did what he was afraid of. You know that in your career or your business, if you do what you're afraid to do, you will feel strong. That being said, with the right coaches or the right mentors, little plug here, it can become a whole lot easier because we can change your mindset, we can transform all of that. But as a masculine man, do what's difficult. You have a challenge in your life, attack it. How long do you want to keep running away from the challenges that you have? And again, you're already doing so well in at least 1 or 2 areas. You can simply transfer the meta habit of taking the challenge, chunking it down, getting help where necessarily, and then attacking it. Attacking a challenge, stoically, calm, grounded, and confident. And one more thing that I want to add. Jocko Wilkins, this Navy SEAL guy, amazing person. I always butcher his surname. He talks about the idea of detachment. Sometimes being masculine also means letting go. Is this something that I need to get emotionally involved with right now, or is this something that I can let go? Is this urgent? Does this require my urgent attention? Or is this something that I simply don't have control over? Being a masculine man also realizes that there's certain things in life that you simply don't have control over. And if you want to have peace in your life, simply ask yourself, what can I control right now? Okay, I want to find the right girlfriend, life partner, or wife. Can I control this? Yeah, a lot. Obviously I can control that, but what can I control? What can't I control? Well, what if I approach her and she rejects me? Then your focus goes on the potential rejection. And the more you focus on something that you cannot control, the higher the probability that you're going to experience anxiety and insecurity. Because by default, if you focus on something that you do not have ultimate control over, then your brain is being put in a difficult situation to solve something that's insoluble. That's not solvable, in other words. So the more you focus on, well, I'm going to do the approach. I'm going to master online dating. I will develop this skill set. Will there be temporary setback? Of course. Do I have to face my fears? Of course. But then again, to be honest, man, I'm here on a mountain in Germany. It's absolutely beautiful. And you have to understand that you being afraid of a rejection is completely understandable because we all have it. At the same time, your grandparents were fighting in war. They were much more difficult situations. If you were to go and talk to your great-great-great-great-grandfather about the fact that you're too afraid to approach a woman, that you haven't dedicated yourself to figuring out online dating apps, he would laugh at you. Somebody who's working on a farm 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, fishing, being a blacksmith, doing whatever has to be done to be able to provide for the family, solving real life, important challenges, he will laugh at your face. So it's important to have perspective that the fear of approaching women is on the one hand absolutely real and everybody has it. Yet with the right strategies, if you use progressive desensitization, for example, you can decrease it to an extent where it's like 1 or 2 or 3% where you barely notice it. It's still a little bit there because you're not a psychopath and you do care about what people think, but it doesn't stop you, it doesn't prevent you from taking constructive action. So, here's my invitation. Do embody the feminine energy in your body. Do embody the feminine side of your personality because it'll make you super attractive. I believe the only reason I'm able to have the relationship with Fernanda that I have, I believe the only reason I'm able to have the relationship with my mother, my brother, my closest friends, my clients, is because I have a strong feminine side. Now, it doesn't come out in these videos, because in these videos I tend to go on quite these epic rants, 20 plus minutes of pure epicness, as some of my clients would say. But I do have a very strong, warm, caring side. It's paired with a lot of strong masculinity because that's more so what you need, but it's absolutely both. You don't have to change yourself to find an amazing woman. But you do have to become way more masculine. If you want me to help you with that personally, apply for a free initial consultation call. I sincerely wish you all the best. Please take action on this video. Either by yourself, use free resources, but put something, at least one idea that you learned here today into practice. And be respectful and be kind and have a fantastic time. Take care.